My mother-in-law is just demanding that we pay her a monthly allowance because she's having a hard time, she just lost her job, and she needs a bit of help. Well, when I find out she's been lying about a lot of stuff, I decide to confront her, and you guys will not believe what my mother-in-law has to say. I'm 32 years old and married to a man of my dreams. David and I met in high school and we hit it off really fast. I believe ours is one of those stories that favors love at first sight. He was kind, attentive, and knew how to make me feel butterflies in the right places. Before I could think for too long, I married him, because why not? I enjoyed my first year of marriage with David until my mother-in-law, Kathy, decided to come to visit. We live in downtown Manhattan, because I work there as an accountant and David works in one of the software companies. We had a fairly good living, or better put, we had money to spare for ourselves and our kids in the future. Things started to go off with me when Kathy visited. She came to spend, in her own words, summer break with her son whom she missed dearly. I did not have a problem with her visiting, as she was welcome to me when David took me home to introduce me, just before we began planning our wedding and got married. I was cool with her. She asked various questions about my workplace and how much I earned and everything. I truthfully told her. I didn't think that there would be any issue with it until her first visit. The first few days had gone uneventful and fine, only for me to come home one afternoon to find that my mother-in-law had used my husband's card to order extra large chicken wings and chips for herself, and also shopped for some Balenciaga shoes. I was going to ignore it, but David was not home and he must have left his credit card deliberately because I told him I needed to get some things for the house. So I confronted Kathy. Why would you use David's card without his consent? And you even bought Balenciaga? I had my arms akimbo, waiting for her to respond to that, but nothing came from her. She raised her head to look at me slightly and continued wordlessly as though I had not spoken to her. I was heated. Ma, I'm talking to you. At this point, I was boiling. I could not take the fact that she ignored me and continued to tear at her chicken wings, making sloppy sounds with her mouth. It's his money, not yours. It's my son's money. Well, she said this, and I knew that she would not be staying long with us. It became a shouting match between the two of us. David and I work hard for this money. You can't just walk in here and spend it as you like and buy all sorts of designers. Respect yourself. I banged the bag that I had in my hands loudly on the table, and Kathy jumped up from her chair, and the woman began this crazy in a split second. Can you believe Kathy held me by the collar as I said I was a killjoy who did not want her to enjoy her son now that he had some money to spare? Yes, she said exactly that. I tried to hold her hands to prevent her from choking me while I screamed, "Let go of me!" This woman does not even know that we work so hard for our money and most of the things that we do are joint. I managed to get her off of me finally, threatening to call the police and screaming at the top of my voice before she left my collar and sauntered back to the table to face the rest of the chicken and chips. I was heated beyond words that day. I stomped to my room and called David, said that we needed to talk when he got home. I made a mental calculation of what she had gotten and saw that it ran it over $1,000. I was determined that I would put a stop to her terrible attitude. Being David's mother did not give her the right to treat us anyhow and any way, absolutely giving us no regard. David got back home that night and I told him about the incident. He was way too calm for my liking. You know how my mom is. Besides, only a few days and she'll be back at her house, so just let it be, honey. And it made me so mad how he was so simple. I sat him down and made him see that she was just being silly. Did he not see that she was only being manipulative and only interested in the money that we had? I thought a true mother was to simply love their child without expecting anything in return, but not Kathy. David saw how furious I was and held my hands in an attempt to calm me down. I looked away from him because I was frustrated and about to cry, and it did not help that he could not see what I was seeing. David assured me that he was going to talk to her and he would not leave his card lying around again. For some time I just thought, well, maybe I was being disrespectful. She could as well be my mom. I let the thoughts slip and the guilt about being disrespectful to her linger, and I allowed myself to let her continue to manipulate us and make requests that most times are so unreasonable. At David's word, I let her be for the next few days, and she spent more lavishly on our money, and she reminded David that she needed to get drugs for something the doctor said was wrong with her. Which I didn't get. She ordered all kinds of designers, including the ones that I didn't have. Gucci, Nike, Burberry, Fendi, you name it. All you could name. She would ask me for cash on some days, and I would oblige her because I wanted to ensure that there was peace between David and me, and that nothing strained our relationship. It was finally time for her to leave. That morning she feigned sickness, but David and I gave her a lot of money and promised to come visit her with more, and convinced her to go back to her place. Now, this is my dilemma, guys. It's been 2 weeks since Kathy left our house to go back to hers, and just yesterday she called me to inform David and me that she had lost her remote job, and while in the process of looking for another, wants us to give her a monthly salary of $1,000. Day by day, I keep wondering where the woman got her audacity from. For all I know, David and I work hard for our money, and a better part of it saved up for an unborn kid. Yes, we live comfortably, we rarely lack anything, and Kathy has seen that. But that is no way a tenable reason for the demands that she makes, and even more recently, the one she demanded about giving her a monthly allowance? Immediately, she said she lost her job, and I knew there was something up her sleeve. I spoke with David, as the norm is. Mommy's boy did not want to argue or fight with his mom, and instead, we should give the money to her because we could afford it. I could never do that. I work hard for my money. Anyways, the interesting turn of events is that I stumbled upon Kathy's diary, which she left at our house in her room, and saw that she had a trip planned with one Bob. See, I suspect he must have been her boyfriend since she was divorced, and her dramatic handwriting scrawled across the white page that said "Love trip to Bali with Bob." The sight of it made me cringe. I had seen that guy once at Kathy's place when David and I visited. He prepared even younger than her son, and was only present in her life for her money, and must be, someone who's simply enjoying himself and living off of her without the knowledge that the money does not even belong to her. Now, here's the catch. Kathy has not learned the lesson of boundaries and personal space, and she still insists that we pay her monthly, until she finds her job. I'm so sick and tired of this woman telling my husband how to spend his mother simply because she pushed him out of the hospital. She has no limits at all, and by going by this, what if she asks for a house next and David gives her it just to, do it without my consent? I'm so sick and tired, and I'm in the mood to teach her some lessons. I want to call her and tell her that I accidentally stumbled upon her diary, and I would like to buy the tickets for the vacation for them both, and guess who needs a vacation right now? My husband and I. I would surprise him with a vacation and have Kathy get the wrong tickets. I have the perfect plan in my head how to get this done. I've imagined it several times, and now I cannot wait to see it happen. I only think that I may have a bit of adrenaline rush, more than I thought, and I figured I would just ask what you guys think's the best decision to make on how to deal with Kathy. This is going to be so much fun and a ruckus. Can't wait to see the look on her face. What do you think? This is an opportunity to finally teach her one big lesson, and hope that after this she'll learn that her son and his wife deserve some respect from her, some boundaries, no entitlements. Do you think this big plan of mine will finally get the message across to her? Or I should simply just let her be? Let me know. Top comments from the original post. Comment number 1. Wow, your mother-in-law took it far this time. She's nothing but a manipulative person, and you should not let that go further. Tell me about giving her a monthly allowance because she lost her job. The audacity, girl. Fight for your home and for your right. I've read a lot of similar stories like yours, and I can totally relate. You come into the relationship thinking all is fine, and you can finally live the life that you deserve with your love, only for their mothers to be a thorn in your flesh. Totally relatable. Entitled greedy mother-in-laws need to be taught that the world is not under their feet just because they had a son. And I dare say your husband needs to learn a lot of lessons too. Teach him to stop being such a mommy's boy and stand with you if he really loves you. I love your story and I'm following it ardently. We'll be waiting for how things turn out. It's about time somebody showed mother-in-law that we don't actually marry them and they should stay with their husbands. Comment number 2. Here we go again with these pathetic internet stories and entitled lots of you, all commending her for treating her mother-in-law the way she did. Mind you, if your mother-in-law did not give birth to your husband and raise him to be the man that he is right now, you would not even find him attractive enough to get married to, let alone come here to feed us this pitiful story of you treating an elderly woman with such contempt. How would you feel if somebody brought your mother's case to the internet? You have no respect for family, and you're simply ungrateful. Yes, it's her son's money, and it's not a crime to spend it on something she desires. Do you want to spend it after she's dead? Well then, let her spend it now. You have only come here to post this so that you can have people praise you, but what you should do is look at yourself, because you're the problem and not your mother-in-law. Update number 1. Hey guys, so I'm here with another update on my plan to shock my mother-in-law, Kathy. As you already know, she requested that David and I pay her a monthly allowance because she lost her job and needs to have some money till she gets one. Guess who found out it was a lie? I did. She simply needed money to go on her expensive trip to Bali with her boyfriend Bob, and I'd seen that in her diary. I was thinking of how to effectively teach her a lesson and not come out as a bad person to my husband because I love my husband and I love my home. So I put a call through to Cassidy, my closest friend, who's practically now my family. I narrated the incident to her and all that's been going on with Kathy. Cassidy thought I was letting a bad habit slide, and if I did not address it now, it would get to the point that, it demands become unbearable and it would be too late to get out of it. I told her about the trip to Bali and my thoughts about making the reservations for David and me instead, and she just absolutely loved the idea. Cassidy convinced me that was the best plan to go with, and I would give my husband the best vacation and Kathy would learn her lesson still. She would only shout and do nothing since we were not going on the trip with her money. I reasoned along with her and decided this was my best bet to teach her a good lesson and create some good memories with David. I decided to go through with my plan. Well, I thought of telling David about the diary and what I found out, but I discarded that thought and called Kathy instead. She picked up on the third ring and answered with her deceptive voice. You would think that we were starving her and nobody cared to send her anymore with the way that she sounded sick. I ignored the camouflage and told her about the diary and their intended trip. I offered to get them the tickets because why would I let my darling Kathy spend that much money when she had me and David? She excitedly blew me a kiss and said that she would expect the tickets. I dropped the call and swung into action. I asked if I should go ahead with my plans, and I'm happy to say that I did. They were going to go to a nice resort in Bali and have a good time. Well, that was not a bad idea for my darling David and me to cool off. So I made the reservations for both of us. It was a period of 2 weeks. Did I book tickets for them? Yes, I did, but with the wrong flight number. I told David to take a leave off work because it's time to go have some couple fun. You can already picture me grinning as I type this. It's about to get really, really interesting. Update number 2. So I booked our flight for the same time that Kathy and Bob should be arriving at the airport, because I wanted to watch the drama unfold. David and I headed to the airport today, and David had some last-minute work to finish, so he buried his head in it once we were at the airport. We were at the airport and settled into the waiting takeoff room when Kathy and Bob arrived dragging suitcases. I watched from where I sat as the tickets got rejected, and I just grinned. You can't be serious! I heard her shrill voice as she tried to make the official check the tickets again. She tried calling me, but it went to voicemail, and she angrily tells the official to hold on. Ma'am, I'm gonna ask you to leave, please. You have the wrong tickets and you can't board the flight. But I'm going to Bali. We're going on a vacation. By this time, the official ignored her and attended to someone else. You said you had the flights sorted out. What kind of embarrassment is this? Bob's voice followed through the airport space, and I watched as he dragged Kathy by her blouse towards the entrance. "Let go of me! You're so ungrateful. After all the money you get from me, just because David could not book this flight and it went wrong does not mean that you should forget everything else. Oh, you're nothing but a old lady who eats off her son's money. You have no money of your own," Bob retorted. Kathy's hands cracked across his face, and he staggered back, cussing at her. The security guy swung into action and ordered them to leave the airport premises. Just then, David raised his head and removed his headphones, surprised to see his mom and Bob being dragged out by security. "Babe, what happened?" I'm going to have to figure out a way to tell him about his cunning mother, but in the meantime, I got so much pleasure from watching the embarrassing moment for them. Oh, to even make it spicier, what if I sent her some cool pictures of David and me having a great time at their resort? Update number 3. I know some of you think that I'm doing too much and I'm being disrespectful to the woman who birthed my husband, but you're wrong. I wish this was some family drama TV show, but it isn't. This is my life and it's my reality, and only ones who have encountered Kathy like I have would know how manipulative and cunning she gets when she needs something. That's why I've decided enough was enough and I needed to teach her an important lesson to stop being greedy. David and I had a nice time at the resort. We visited every bar and could not get enough of each other. I must confess that David loved the trip so much that he kept thanking me and promised to have us visit Bali again on another vacation. We took so many beautiful photos, and guess what I did? Of course I sent them to Kathy. The pictures had a Bali sign in them, and it was pretty obvious that David and I went to the exact same location she planned to be with her boyfriend. All with our money. She has no shame. Trust Kathy to be petty. David came into our reserved master's bedroom to tell me that his mother has been blowing up his phone and he did not know if he should answer. "Did you do something to her? You two have always had a reason or two to fight." He wanted to know what it was again this time, and I said I did absolutely nothing, smiling sheepishly, and winked at him. You can take her call." I wanted to hear the pain in her voice when she called, so I had David put the phone on speaker. "Hey, Mom, David was about to explain why he had not taken the call, but she cut him short. "Tell that daughter, that son of a gun wife of yours, that she has to deal with me, that jerk." Mom, what's going on?" I listened to hear what she had to say, and it could not be anything good, but I still wanted to make sure that I heard the anger, even more in her voice, and I got under her skin good. I particularly just wanted to hear if she would speak about David not taking her side this time, and sure enough, I got it. "That ungrateful fool. I hope that she does just infect you with a disease." Then she hung up the phone. David looked from the phone in his hands to me, back to the phone, and back to me and said, "What's going on?" I was sitting on my bed with my legs tucked underneath me and smiling, and I could see the look of confusion on his face, and his brows furrowed together when I could not stop smiling. "Oh, why are you smiling?" Okay. I sent her some pictures, maybe taken here, and it got her upset. Maybe you should ask her why she's upset about some beautiful pictures. I picked up the book that I had beside me and casually flipped through it. David knew there was more to it. He just noticed that this time around I was not going to let Kathy have her way. I was sick and tired of putting up with everything, and he made me tell him all what Kathy has been doing. Not that he was so oblivious, because he's very often indulging to her. He just only needed to know more, like how she lost no job and the money she requested was simply to fund her expensive fake lifestyle with her young boyfriend. We needed to establish some boundaries because our money was to be spent wisely. David reasoned with me and apologized that he had not seen it all along and was simply blinded by his love for her. So, guys, this is where my courage has brought me. At least my husband and I now agree on one thing, that his mom is a spoiled, ungrateful woman. Now we're left with reactions that we get when we return from Bali and have to physically face Kathy. Update number 4. So guys, David and I returned to Manhattan yesterday after our vacation, and guess who was waiting for us in the living room? Kathy! She has a key and I forgot to change the lock so she can't visit. She was perched on a sofa, her legs shook, and she got up and charged at me, and David caught her hand just in time and held it up in the air. You cannot lay your hands on my wife, Ma. Both Kathy and I turned our faces to David. His tone of voice was very different, cold, hard, something that I'm sure Kathy had never heard before. I moved a few steps away from them to watch the two argue. Well, your wife is a jerk who hates me. No, you are the conniving, scheming jerk here. You've been collecting huge amounts of money from me, from us, all because you want to outdo yourself before that guy. How old is he? Is he even as old as I am? Should not you be taking care of yourself with all the money we've given you? David threw these questions at his mom while I looked on, and his eyes were red. He was obviously angry. He had been manipulated for oh so long. Kathy moved away from him and began to pace. She had her arms akimbo and her eyes were red too, and for a moment I thought that she would cry. She walked towards David and stood in front of him, holding out her phone in front of him, and said, "So, are you aware she sent me these pictures? You knew? She must have wished at that moment that she was wrong." "Yeah, I knew, Ma. The picture here? This is supposed to be me and Bob," she said. Then she got crazy, guys. She went over to a picture frame on our wall and smashed it to the ground. This was when I ran up to her and just held her. She attempted to kick me in the groin, but David held her legs. When she saw that she could no longer fight, she broke down in tears, and David and I guided her to the couch. At this point, I did not know if she was being manipulative or genuinely crying. "Bob left me. Bob said I'm old," she wept. David and I decided to dig up what we could find about Bob and have him pay for the damages caused. I'll tell you what we find in my next update. Thanks, guys. Being able to talk to you has truly made this easier for me. Update number 5. Final update of the story. Hey guys, this is me with another update on David, Kathy, and I. You guys know how dramatic Kathy was the last time. She starts crying, and that made us decide to dig into Bob's story a little. Well, can you believe he's a high school dropout? Yeah, he is, and I'm still trying to figure out what Kathy saw in him. She gives him money, she feeds him. Well, maybe, I don't know, the coitus is good. But is it good enough for all the trash that she took from Bob? Anyways, Bob has a reputation for going from women to women. He would stick with those he knew had a bit of money to spare for a long time, and he would gladly brandish himself as the boyfriend, the boy toy. We checked his Instagram and saw that he went on a trip with a new girl, and she seemed around his age. Kathy could not stand it and walked away when we showed her the pictures they took together. I guess my mother-in-law was beginning to get payback in pictures. That is not a nice thing to say, but oh well, I can confidently say that I'm proud of myself for standing up for my family finances. Who knows? Maybe if I did not stop her in the nick of time with my grand plan, we may have to set up a GoFundMe, and I'll be here asking you guys for money. But look at what my bravery's earned me. I know some people would consider all that I did to be wrong, but I know that sharing my story will help others deal with their overbearing mother-in-laws and learn a thing or two. I also learned from here, and I took your advice to go on with my plan. So it's basically a win-win for us all. Top comment from the update, comment number 1. Forgive me, but your approach to sorting things out is totally off, and no one should take advice from you. How is that you did not feel bad that your mother-in-law was embarrassed and humiliated right there at the airport and you're just laughing? You're lucky she did not get physical and hit you because you deserved it. No one should ever treat another human less just because they have a bit more money. You could wake up tomorrow and all your money would be gone. So I don't see why you and David should hoard money with the woman who raised them. And he is a pathetic son who no mother should ever have to pray to have. I mean, let's be real. He allowed you to brainwash him into thinking he made the wise decision by ignoring his mother. Well, not quite. I hope karma pays back both of you for being such ungrateful brats. Final comment. This is a perfect story for anybody who wants to know how to deal with a stuck-up and entitled mother-in-law. I love you so much already, Bold women are my highest inspiration. I grew up allowing people to walk all over me so many times that I lost my own voice. I found it difficult to say no, and I took so many abusive actions that I should have rejected. Reading your story of how you taught your mother-in-law a vital lesson by what you did is highly inspiring for me, especially because it's your mother-in-law and you could get so much hate for calling her out. But you damned those consequences and sought your own freedom and voice. Girl, you're a queen. I've decided that no matter who it is, I would not let anyone walk all over me. Just like you, I'll stand my ground and say a vehement no. Until I no longer have the discomfort around me. You go, girl. I'm so proud of you. Finally, a mother-in-law story where she actually learned somewhat of a lesson. It looks like she lost her boy toy of a boyfriend. It looks like she can't go on that fancy vacation. And all of this is because OP decided to stand ground. I want to know your thoughts about this story. Maybe you have a mother-in-law story or a daughter-in-law story that you want to share that's kind of similar to today's story. I would love to hear your opinions, but let's just say this is the question. If you were in OP's position and you find out your money just booked a plane ticket to Bali, what would you do about it? I want to know your exact thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for joining me on today's video. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate these sort of drama stories every single day. So if you want to be a part of these stories, all you have to do is subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow, but do remember one thing. It's cool to be kind. Peace.